Alright, so me and my mother just currently walking. Alright guys, so we're about to knock off the Liberty Bell. And look at this, it's 9:07 in the morning. And you know what I wouldn't mind doing though? After we get done with this bus tour thing, I wouldn't mind just actually, you know, taken in this like little area. Upper Dixon.
There's 6 seats right here.
Okay.
Well, this is nice.
Service Capitol buildings and Supreme Court right here. Now, as we come around, we're going to pick some people up over here on, make a quick stop at the Philadelphia Bourse. Philadelphia Bourse is the first steel-framed building in the United States, and it was going to be the United States' first stock exchange. It's done in a French style, but when you get inside now, it's a food court. Now, coming up here on the right-hand side, you're going to see the first example or evidence of Jewish communal living here in the colonies. This land was deeded as a burial ground by William Penn himself. William Penn, being a Quaker, he's going to practice a lot of religious freedom and acceptance. And as we move on by, you're going to come across Christ First Church here, burial ground on the right-hand side. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we come back through, because there's some prominent members, 5 signers of the Declaration of Independence here. None bigger than Benjamin Franklin, and we'll talk more about him when we get here. Back here behind me is going to be the Free Quaker House. So we had a little bit of a division between the Quakers. Some wanted to fight in the Revolution, and the rest of them wanted to remain pacifism. So they're going to split, and that's going to be one. Here on your right is the largest mint in the United States of America. This is the Philadelphia Mint. They make about 2 million coins per hour. However, that number might drop a little bit just because it's no longer economically feasible to make pennies. They cost more than they're worth. And so we're going to stop making those sometime early next year. Now, this was originally a grid pattern city designed by William Penn. And over here on your left is going to be one of the 4 squares. It's now named Franklin Square. It wasn't originally. But right now it's hosting the Chinese Lantern Festival. And if you get a chance at night, it's something to go and see. It's absolutely wonderful. And another great thing about it, there's a carnival and mini golf and a whole bunch of and fountains and other things to see. Now we're on Race Street. Now you're going to notice that a lot of these streets are named after trees. William Penn designed it that way. He named all the streets going east and west after trees. He's going to name all the streets going north and south on numbers. And over here on your left, when we come around this corner, you're going to see St. Augustine's Church. St. Augustine's Church is going to be the first Catholic church in this city. And even though originally it didn't have the steeple on the top, they're going to add that in 1848 when they rebuilt it after the nativists riots in the 1840s. They got burned down. That's also going to be the birthplace of Villanova, where the current Pope graduated. Now we're entering into an area. Well, here first we'll talk about Race Street itself. So Race Street was originally Sassafras Street. We're going to know that because up here on the corner there's going to be a white block in the bricks, and it's going to tell you Sassafras Street. That's still evidence today that this is what the street once was. Now, Ray Street gets its name because back in the day, it was the outskirts of town, and everybody liked to close off the street and do illegal horse racing and gambling. So eventually, it's just going to get the name Ray Street, and it still maintains that today. Right here you go. If you like Always Sunny in Philadelphia, this is Patty's Pub. This is the inspiration for that show.
Huh.
Patty's Pub is still just your regular old dive bar, neighborhood bar. It's something to go in and see if you want to, if you're a fan of the show. However, it is the last smoking bar, so if that bothers you, might not be for you. Straight ahead, you're going to have the Benjamin Franklin Bridge. So when that was built, it was the longest suspension bridge in the entire country. And what you're also going to have is, so it's going to turn 100 years old next year. It was the first bridge that connected us over to New Jersey from the city here. We have several bridges now. You can walk, take a train, drive, bicycle, get around on that bridge. It's all available to you. There's walkways. And this area is affectionately known as Old City. You're going to see a lot of the old architecture still left. Over here on your left is going to be the Fireman's Hall Museum. Now, it was an operational fire hall from 1902 for 50 years. However, it's where it is because that was the area that Benjamin Franklin started the first voluntary firefighter. They were called Ben's Brigade. Now, over here on the left, you're going to have Elfers Alley. Elfers Alley is the longest continuously owned living in the entire United States. So these have been occupied since early in the early settlements. But you're going to see there's two of them. They're still all privately owned, but two of them have turned their houses into a museum on the weekends. Here we go onto Arch Street. We're going to take a right here, and we're going to go to Betsy Ross. Is anybody getting out at the Betsy Ross house? Manuel, I got a couple getting out for Betsy Ross. Now, as we come up here on Betsy Ross, we do know for a fact that she was commissioned by the Continental Congress to sew and stitch up stars and stripes flags. We don't know that she's first. So that was actually started by her grandson, who told the story of what she used to tell him about George Washington coming to her to sew the first flag. And she even convinced him to make a 5-pointed star instead of a 6-pointed star. Now, Betsy is going to marry John Ross. They're going to be at the church together. Man, well,
so now we're here at the Betsy Ross house. So I will see you guys in
fragments because Betsy Ross has been moved around a lot here in Philly, about 3 or 4 different times. So she's scattered through the entirety of Philly. Also, up ahead of us to the right over here, that pizzeria, there used to be a Presbyterian church over there, and that's where the first Continental Convention met here in Philadelphia back in the 1740s. So went from a church to a pizzeria. That pizza is probably very divine, blessed by the Pope. It's on hallowed ground, very holy. And speaking of hallowed ground, right here to the left where these buildings are, back in 2017, when we were first digging for these apartment complexes, they found about 20,000 bodies buried underneath there, which are still down there to this day. Because with Quakers, this was their cemetery right here. And then with Quakers, they don't mark their graves like other sects of Christianity. They feel like they're being pompous or show-offy. Also, right here to the right of us is going to be a big bust of Ben Franklin made out of keys dedicated to the key in the kite experiment. There's also pennies embedded into that bust for his famous saying, "A penny saves."
So now we're here in the Philadelphia Library. And this place is huge. I mean, huge. Now we're currently on the 2nd floor. Imagine being a resident. Oh my goodness. That'd be something. Oh my god, it's 4 floors. You gotta be kidding me. Wow. Alright, let's go into the pen. The pentuary.
You can't hear it?
So this place is haunted. I just can't imagine to have like an EMF reader right now. This used to be a death row prison. Wow. This is one of the cells. Obviously, this isn't what it looks like way back when, but it still looks awful. Just can't imagine. So you actually get to go inside one of these. Oh my god, is it cool? This is so cool. Wow, look how small these are. Like, my goodness. Like, I mean, this is super small. Oh, exit. You don't want to exit yet, do we?
It's all right. You escaped.
We did.
See the bocce court in there? There used to be played bocce in there. A baseball field in there. So it was a nice penitentiary out there. Actually, had whole families in there, you know. Women and children were in there together in the whole cell. So it was a nice little thing. It was an option, like I said at first. So it wasn't like, you know, it was either that or get hanged. So, you know, those were the options. Al Capone spent some time there during the 1920s. On purpose, of course. He probably got arrested there on purpose. His best friend was the warden of the prison. And about 4 months before that, the same Valentine's Day massacre happened. So he's probably getting out of those charges. So pretty smart back in those days to avoid going to prison. You went to prison in a different place for a smaller charge. Now what you do is you just don't commit crimes, kids. That's what you do to avoid prison. That's how you get away with crimes, by not committing them. Being a law-abiding citizen, that'll show them. Stop number 11 for the Perlman Building. We also have the Philadelphia Museum of Art's entrance, but this is not where the Rocky statue is, so if you're looking for Rocky, this is not the stop. But if you're looking for art, this is the stop. Anyone? He ran up the back, which makes sense because there's like a courtyard back there, and that would be the back of this part. But what about the east part of the building? They just don't think about that part. That's the way back. The east back, I don't know. There's the north entrance, there's the west entrance, and then if you go up the stairs where you think is the entrance, they'll laugh at you. So you go around. To where Joan of Arc is over here, Joni on a pony, they call her. She's a French Revolutionary warrior from the 100 Years' War between France and England. So they've been going at it for quite a while. I think they're all right now. They've been going at it for quite a while, so that was about 500 years ago. Back in the 1400s. So that's a symbol that George Washington used as, inspiration, all that, them and those folks. So pretty old. And that's one of 3 statues. So one of them's in Paris. The other one's in New Orleans, which used to be part of France as well. We bought it from them. Alexander Hamilton wanted to just take it from the Spanish, but John Adams.
They keep saying that.
So,
Well, I know, don't go there, right?
it's got some
But you're diehards, right?
experiencing a statewide internet
Hey,
911
yeah, but
outage.
you know what? When they finally win, you get so happy. Anybody coming up? We're not coming down. What are we doing? Just hanging around. Okay. Well, at least we're not in the sun. Oh, take that picture quick. We're moving.
You don't see that?
First bank of the country. The bank that the government built in 1790. When we were the capital,
That's really
all the
good.
buildings that we used as a capital were here. The only building the government built in Philadelphia was the bank. And you're going to see that in a second. We're trying to open it as a tourist attraction, but if you were born in 1790, you'd need a lot of work too. So we're working on it. As we turn on your left, the Bicentennial Bell, given to us by Queen Elizabeth right here on the left. Little teeny park for the bell. The Bicentennial Bell. It was a gift. Also on your left, here comes the bank. This is Hamilton's Bank right here, 1790. Eventually it will be open for a tourist attraction. And on your right, the Museum of the American Revolution.